So I realized that my Tumblr role-playing tutorial videos are 3 years old, and they're very outdated compared to both what I know now and also how Tumblr is now. So this guide is for those that want to get into role-playing on Tumblr, or they want to share role-playing with other people that don't know what it is. So welcome. We're going to start off first by explaining what role-playing really is. And water down what role-playing is writing. It's writing with another person and going back and forth, kind of like a tennis match. You go back and forth and respond to one another. It involves specific settings, plots, and characters, and there are two branches of role-playing. There's group role-playing and then indie role-playing. And I will cover both of these within this video. Now this video is going to just be an overview, and I will do other videos which I'll explain at the very end of this about what they will be. Before we begin, I want you to take the time to do 3 things. First is to create an account on Tumblr. This is an account that you will apply with in the future once we get to that step. If you already have an account, that's great. 2, get the new XKit extension. Now this extension is very useful, but unfortunately you can only get it on Chrome and Firefox. But it is crucial to your role-playing experience, and honestly your experience on Tumblr itself, to have this extension. It has the tricks to get around the mess that is Tumblr. 3, remember that being new to role-playing is perfectly okay. Going into role-playing unexperienced is more common than you would think. I started off on my own with knowing nothing about it. I just knew that I wanted to write with people online, and then I found Tumblr and I found role-playing, and I learned from there, and my writing and my role-playing from however many years ago it was to now is very different, and it's actually really embarrassing to go back and look. So I'm going to break down this video between group role-playing and indie role-playing. So if you want to skip ahead to independent role-playing, which is not within a closed group, click here, here-ish, there. And that will skip right ahead to indie role-playing. What is a group role-play? It is literally what it sounds like. It's a closed group of people role-playing together with the same plot or premise. So this means that outsiders, those that are not considered members of this roleplay, cannot interact with you, and you cannot interact with them. You have to interact with the admins before you can be accepted into this group, and normally that is through an application, which I will talk about a little bit later. So the characteristics of group roleplay are that they have their own set of rules, and they do vary per group, so you always are 100% going to have to read these rules, and you should read these rules. But they also have their own plot, and that is what makes up the roleplay itself. They also have admins who run and manage this group. They have the ones that created this group roleplay, and they are the ones that read through your applications and decide if you can join this roleplay. So, how do you find a group roleplay? Well, you have your Tumblr account. So now you can search through Tumblr through specific tags. Usually the most basic are Tumblr RP and just plain old RP. These are actually the tags that I use when I look up blogs for RP Weekly. Now what if you want to find something specific? Whether that is a fandom or if it's just something general like a town. Or maybe a supernatural roleplay or a crime roleplay, it's very simple to search for. You put in, say you're a fan of Marvel. You can put in Marvel RP and search that, and you will find roleplays about Marvel RP. It's very simple to find these roleplays because they do promotion posts, otherwise known as promos, and they advertise, usually with a graphic, and they say what they're about, and they give you links to their pages. So now if you're not into a specific fandom, or if you don't want anything fantasy or supernatural, you would go for the original roleplays. And these are generally town roleplays or college ones. So you have a lot of original characters and you can have basic everyday life situations role played out. So you browse through. I highly recommend browsing through multiple RPs to find one that you really think you'll fit in with. It's kind of like shopping and you're testing out where like genes that would fit you. And be sure to look through the main, not just at the plot. Be sure to read through main posts, see what the admins are like, see what the characters are, if they have any extra information that you might need to know or would help you make a decision, such as more information on the plot and location, things like that. So now, if you have a roleplay chosen, be sure to check whether it allows original characters, or OCs, and decide if you want to create your own character or if you want to use one of theirs that they have created. So first up, every character has a face claim. And a face claim is a celebrity, famous person who will represent your character's expressions and actions. Before officially deciding on a face claim, be sure to check the Roleplay's Taken Face Claims page. This is a list of the currently taken face claims by active characters or sometimes NPCs or non-playable characters. Also be sure to check if there are any banned face claims. Not like BAND, but BANNED, banned face claims. Most people tend to ban face claims that are problematic. They're not good people in real life, or they have specifically said that they do not want to be used for role-playing. There are lists out there. I will link one below of a pretty big list with also links to references of why they should be banned in a roleplay. If you're deciding on a fandom roleplay, be sure to pick a character that you are familiar with. There are two different types of characters when it comes to referencing ones that are in a roleplay. There are canon characters, and then there are original characters. Canon characters, normally you would think, oh, they're from the show. But that's speaking not so much in reference to roleplaying. In roleplaying, you have a group roleplay, and they will have characters that are already pre-made and posted up on the blog. Those are canon characters. Original characters are ones that people apply with. They are their own creation. When picking a canon character to apply for, be sure to think about what type of character personality that you want to write. Whether it is an asshole character or a naive character or someone who's really nerdy, there will be usually pre-made bios. It gets a little complicated with that because sometimes there are what we call skeleton bios, and these are usually bare bones, pun not so much intended, but a little bit intended, because they usually only have a name or a face claim and maybe how old they are. And sometimes there are little bullet points of information that the admins have, headcanons, if you will. But generally they give you the space to form this character. Either type, make sure that you keep note of characters that you are interested in, that you think that you can roleplay in the future. Be sure to pick one that you have a connection to. I've always found that my best and favorite characters are ones that kind of have a piece of me in them. Things that I can relate with, things that I can get out, whatever that may be. So if you decide that you want to create your own character, an OC, be sure to check the main blog and see if they accept original characters. And if they do, there is always usually a separate application specifically for original characters, and you can use that as your template to create the character. So you fill in the name, how old they are, if they're a supernatural race, which race are they, the bio, the history, the background about the character, and be sure to note if there are any requirements or maximum word count for these bios. Usually you do about one paragraph for history of the character and then one for the personality of the character. When it comes to writing original characters, I find it best to think about situations that the character would be in. How are they in school? Are they slacking? Are they overachieving? What was their family like? Did they get along with their family? If not, why? Things like that. Just kind of get into these what if situations with your character and answer them through the bio. But also be sure to leave a little bit of a surprise. It's like that old writing saying, show, don't tell. So now that you have your character picked out, it's time to apply. And it is important to keep in mind that every roleplay is different. There are different types of applications. So the first type is appless. And this one, obviously, there's no application. You just send in a message. Usually, okay, stop saying usually. Okay. The first type is appless. And this, clearly, no application. All you have to do is send in a template format message that has your character name, the face claim, the age, and whatever the admin template has. And with these, you are automatically in. Semi-appless roleplays have no writing sample requirement. You just fill in the character information and your information and send it in. And the third one is my own personal term, because there really isn't a formal term for it, but full application. They require a writing sample, or otherwise known as a sample para, that is usually at least 250 words, or about 3 paragraphs. It's very important to note to not apply with your character's blog already. It kind of is taboo, and it doesn't really send a positive signal to the admins. Always be sure to read through the rules of the group, and also check to see if there's any waiting period or specific days in which they accept. Sometimes roleplays like to have a 48-hour acceptance delay. You've sent in your application, and then you waited, and either you're accepted or you're not. If you're not accepted, do not worry, it is perfectly okay. Every single person has gone through not being accepted in a roleplay. If you didn't get in, that's totally okay. Keep going. Keep trying. So for the sake of this video, obviously, we are going to assume that you got in, so congratulations. Most roleplays tend to want your character's blog not to be a side blog. It's just easier to send out messages and things like that. Although there is IMing nowadays on Tumblr. But generally, the rules will let you know their stance on that. Either way, you will need a separate blog from the one that you applied with. So now the fun part is picking a theme. There are tons of theme hunters and creators out there. And below I've given you a couple links to blogs that I've found themes through. So customize to your heart's content. Be sure to always do a link to the main blog, the roleplay that you are part of. Also, try and add in a navigation page and an about page, which will have information about your character, like the bio and any headcanons maybe that you want to throw in. Be sure to open your ask and submit box. And how you do that is you go into settings, and on the bottom right hand side, there is a sidebar that has a list of your blog. Your blog's name is on there, so click that. And on that page, you will find, when you scroll down a little bit, you can click the little button and open up your ask and submit box. And you can decide yourself if you want to allow anonymous messages or not. You should never be required to allow anonymous messages. It's up to your comfort level. So then your blog is made, and you send a message to the group main to let them know that your blog is all ready. So there are many different types of interactions within a roleplay, and you can do them with more than one person. There are 2 main versions of interaction within a group roleplay. They are gift combos and paras. And usually they are in past tense, third person, and in the point of view of your character. And don't worry, I will give you examples of both of these on screen. Gift combos consist of 1 or 2 sentences of dialogue, and a GIF that represents your character's action or expression. You and another member reply back and forth from one another. Now, paras, they are short for paragraphs, because at least 2 paragraphs of text are involved. And you try and match the length of the other member that you're writing with. Now, you're going to come across the term starters. There are gift combo starters and there are para starters. They are new posts that people put up, whether it can be either gift combo or any other type of interaction, and people respond to those. But be sure to keep in mind that there are closed starters and there are open starters. Open starters are free for anyone. Closed starters, usually they will have the names of the characters that are involved in it, and you cannot reply to them because they're between those characters. You must be invited in. And a big no-no, huge no-no, is God modding. You don't want to be caught doing it. It makes you look like an asshole. So this is taking control of another person's character without their consent, and also using your character in illogical ways in order to win, whether it's an argument or a fight or whatever. Basically, you're not letting the other person and their character be true to themselves. And a couple final notes for group role-playing. There are things called self-pairs, and they are quite self-explanatory in the sense of that they are pairs that you write, and it's just your character. They're usually used for prompts, headcanons, and writing challenges. And finally, note that reblogging or posting up media such as photos or music does not actually count as activity. Only the GIF combos or the pairs tend to usually only count for activity. Now we're going to move on to indie role-playing. Unlike group role-playing, indie role-playing is a lot freer. You are your own master in indie role-playing. You can interact with any of the other indie players out there, and there are a lot of them. And you can also use any style that you want. So to get started, you decide what character do you want. Do you want to create your own, or do you want to do a canon character from your favorite movie or show? Then you make their blog. And unlike group roleplays, you can make them a side blog off of whatever other blog you want to make it off of. Now, there are a few things that are sort of unofficial requirements when it comes to being an indie role player. These are the things that people will look for when they go to your blog. Rules. No, not like group rules, but your own personal rules. Are there things that you don't want to write, such as smut or violence, those type of things? Make sure you put them in there. Generally, I like to put in, hey, don't be an asshole. Will you interact with different fandoms if your character's in a fandom? Are you an RP blog that will roleplay multiple verses? Or will you stick with just one singular storyline about pages? You will definitely need one for your character. This will help people know what your character's about. If you're doing a fandom one, are you doing a younger version of a fandom canon character? And then people also a lot of people tend to do a about page about themselves. Now, you don't have to do fully in-depth personal information. Really, you just need whatever name you want to go by, your pronouns if you would like, your age, and maybe a fun fact or two. Now, the interaction types are the very same as they are for group roleplay. So instead of me repeating myself and also repeating myself for those that have been watching from the beginning, click this here and it will bring you straight to interaction. Now, the downside to indie role-playing is that you need to be a little bit more proactive in finding people to interact with. The best way to go about this is to check the tags. Usually you can check indie starter tag or indie RP, and you will find a ton of things. You can also search, say you want a Sherlock indie RP, or you type in Sherlock indie RP, and you will find exactly what you're looking for. So once you find people that you would like to interact with, go over the rules, see if there's anything specific that they require, things that they won't do, things they're uncomfortable with. Send them a message and follow them. And once you start talking with them, plot. And then you can begin to interact. So that concludes my overview of Tumblr role-playing. I am going to definitely do more of this. I have a list in front of me of just, as I was doing this one, of things I want to explore more on. Definitely terminology, applications, things not to do in Tumblr role-playing. I want to go over some face claim kind of notes and guidelines and tips. But what I want to do is about creating a roleplay and running one. So thank you for watching.